guys, and welcome back to Mental Health Mondays. I hope you are all well. Today we are going to be talking about self-hatred. So I kind of wanted to do a video on this following on from last week's video where I kind of opened up about my eating issues. I feel like self-hatred comes part and parcel with that. I've spent many years hating myself and my body, etc, etc. I'm still not where I want to be with it, but I definitely have got a lot better, and I definitely have some tips that I've picked up along the way. So yeah, I just thought we'd have a little chat and give you the best advice I possibly can if you are also feeling the same. From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, I am constantly judging myself. It's like I have a little horrible person in my head that just constantly feeds me negative things about myself. And one thing I've really tried is to break this cycle, because constantly judging yourself and putting yourself down is obviously not helpful. But I feel like unfortunately this is just how a lot of us live, and we don't kind of intuitively, well, I don't at least, think positive things about ourselves. We are also always comparing ourselves to others, and I think that is what it kind of comes down to is, well, for me, I'm always thinking, oh, why can't I look like her? Why can't I have skin like her, teeth like her, body like her? And then this whole online world of Instagram obviously doesn't make things any easier. I never actually was really aware of this negative self-talk until I went to therapy, and I was told that this is what it was, and I was kind of like, oh, this is so weird, because it had become so ingrained in my brain to just talk to myself negatively. I just didn't even think about it. So like when I was suicidal, I genuinely thought that I was worthless and that I didn't deserve to live. I hated so many aspects of myself. I felt like I wasn't worthy because my boyfriend at the time had broken up with me. I did actually put my self-worth in the hands of other people, which is something that I recognize that I did and still do sometimes. I think we all do it to the extent where we just want to seek validation and praise from those online. A lot of the time when you put up like a nice photo of yourself and you get some nice comments, it makes you feel good inside. But we shouldn't have to reach out to others to make us feel that way. Like, we should be able to give ourselves the validation that we are good enough. When you struggle with an eating disorder, a lot of your negative self-talk is towards how you look. You may have a skewed image of your body, and I do think that a lot of self-hatred is down to what we look like. We put such a huge emphasis on what we look like in society, but a lot of the time it can be things like, for me, I'm pretty socially awkward and not very good in social situations, and I always beat myself up for it because a lot of my friends are really good at it, so they often do most of the talking when I'm in a situation with someone new, and I think, oh, like, this person must like my friend way more than me because I'm not really giving much. I'm not like being funny like my friend is, you know. But there are ways to combat feeling this way, and I have listed down my top tips to help you get through this. I also need to remember these tips myself because, like I said, literally day to day I criticize myself and it is just not cool, Maddie. Okay, tip number one, remember that your thoughts are not facts. Just because you're thinking that you look ugly that day doesn't mean that you look ugly that day. Number one, it's all about perception, because I'm sure a lot of people, not that we need other people to validate us, but they'd be like, why are you even worrying about that? Like, I didn't even notice this about you. A lot of the time, you know, we think it's a massive thing, but it's not. But what you need to remember is that what you're thinking is not true. So why should we listen to thoughts that aren't necessarily true? A lot of the time what we are thinking is an opinion. It's so important to catch ourselves when we are thinking these things and question the validity of our thoughts. Number two, this is the tip that everyone gives, but it's a good one. Don't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to your best friend. Like, imagine you spoke to your best friend the way you speak to yourself. You would not be friends anymore. Like, it is so sad how horrible we are to ourselves, and so it is important to practice not saying anything to yourself that you wouldn't directly say to your best friend. I mean, I guess it depends how close your relationship is, but you wouldn't constantly put your best friend down and tell them that they look disgusting, would you? No. Number 3, write down at the end of each day positive things that you did / that happened in your day. We need to shift our focus to the positive things, and I feel like this small little task really does help me. I mean, I don't remember to do it every day, but when I do remember, like, I actually think, okay, yeah, like, I achieved so much today. Like, I am so much more than just my appearance. I mean, if you want to put it down that you had a good skiing day or a good hair day on there, then do it, but it's important to remember that we are more than what we look like or how we acted, and that in actual fact there is usually something good in every day, so write it down. Next one, write a list of your 10 best qualities. This was one of the first tasks that my current psychiatrist asked me to do. I think it was maybe even in the first session, because self-confidence is such a huge issue for me. It's one of the things that I went there and that I wanted to improve on, and I really struggled to write this list, but I think it's such an important thing to have, and I actually stuck it up by my mirror for a long while just so I could look at my qualities and think, okay, yeah, actually, like, I am quite a good human. It's funny because someone actually asked me the other night, like, what are your 3 best qualities, and I was like, I honestly don't know. Like, number 1, it's embarrassing saying it to someone, and number 2, like, I honestly, my mind just went blank. I was like, oh god, I can't even think of 3. So I need to go and write this list again, but everyone has 10 best qualities within them. You all have millions of best qualities. The next one is to catch yourself when you're being critical to yourself. So I feel like a lot of the time this negative self-talk can kind of be like just chat it in the back of your head, and it's just, for me, it just became so ingrained that it was just like, oh yeah, you know, you look shit, blah blah blah. It's just standard. It's important to call yourself out on it. When this negative judge is going on in the back of your head, you need to catch it, and you need to hold that thought in front of you, aka my skin looks disgusting today, and you need to say it out loud, see it for what it is. A lot of the time I find myself thinking that's actually quite ridiculous, that I've just said that to myself. We can't be perfect all the time. The next one, which links in with this, is to remember that looks are temporary. Whenever I think about like having a bad skin day, or that, you know, my teeth are crooked or whatever, remember that looks can change, and if you desperately want to, you know, a lot of people do change their looks. They get things like braces, they go to the doctors for their skin, which is what I've done. Your looks will fade. Like, you're gonna get old and wrinkly, that's inevitable. So it's so important to work on what's gonna be left when you are old and wrinkly and you don't have your looks to go on, and that is your inside, and that is the most important part of you. I think being a better person should be way above looking good. Unfortunately, we do put so much emphasis on looking good and being attractive, etc, but it is what's inside that really counts. Next, now this is a tricky one, practicing self-love. Obviously the opposite to self-hatred is self-love, and I have read a lot about this. I've listened to many podcasts on self-love, and one thing that really stuck out for me is saying to yourself in the mirror every day, I love you. And if you can't say that, if that's too hard for you, you can start with I like you. But looking at yourself in the mirror and saying I love you is so bizarre, and it feels so weird, but if you say it every day, things will improve. Also, start replacing your criticisms with things that are good about yourself. So if you catch yourself thinking negatively about yourself, replace it with one of the good qualities that you've written down in your list. And then finally, it is so important to remember that you are worthy of love even when you're at your lowest and you really don't feel like a good person. Your friends and family will stick around you through the ups and downs, and they should love you unconditionally throughout that. Just because you feel like you're worthy of all the self-hatred doesn't mean that you are. And I'm gonna leave you with a quote that I actually came across really recently, and it really resonated with me, and that is, you live most of your life inside your head make sure it's a nice place to be. I'd never really thought about it like that. You're in your own thoughts a lot, so you might as well make it a nice place to be. Like, why would you want to make it a horrible place? So please do let me know in the comments below if you did find this video helpful. Let me know where you are on your journey with self-hatred, self-love, etc, etc. I'm sending love to all of you, and I will see you on Thursday for a new video. But until then, goodbye.